Good evening, Year 11 parents and carers. My name is Mrs. Tyler. I'm a subject leader for RE here at St Richard Reynolds Catholic College. Just a quick overview on our plans for this year for your sons and daughters. For their GCSE Religious Studies qualification, every student will be doing the Edexcel Specification A full course. On this screen you can see an overview of the areas we've covered in Year 10 and that we are planning on covering in Year 11. Just to go a bit further, this is our Year 11 course. We've already started on Arguments for the Existence of God, that's our philosophy element. Religious teaching on relationships and families in the 21st century, that's our ethics component, which does lead them beautifully onto the A level already. And then we'll be completing with Judaism practices. So they've already had some instruction on Judaism beliefs and teachings. We'll aim to go over all of the content briefly towards the end of the course, but that's what we'll be teaching them in the coming months. The assessment that they'll be undergoing is 3 papers of GCSE. The first paper is the longest and covers all 4 units of the Catholic Christianity module with 4 A, B, C, D questions. This is the first full cohort GCSE in the middle of May, so it's really their first full written exam. About a week later, there's a paper 2, which is 50 minutes on Judaism, and paper 3, a couple of days later, on philosophy and ethics. And you can see the weighting of those marks as well. Just bringing to attention, it is the middle of May when they'll be sitting this GCSE. So it'd be very prudent if they could start their revision as soon as possible, because that date will creep up on them. In terms of what you could do to help and support the students this year, key words, our technical language is something that we focus on. We have keyword tests regularly for students to be able to identify that technical language, that technical vocabulary. It can equate to about 12 marks overall in the paper. We do the spellings and definitions test and we review those regularly. The reason for this is because often you'll find technical language in a question. You know, quite simply outline 3 reasons why Catholics respect the magisterium. If you don't know what the magisterium is, you've missed out on your 3 marks straight away. So they do appear in questions quite frequently, and their students will be expected to use technical language in their responses to the questions as well. We'd like to be able to use those consistently, accurately, and it will help them manage their time if they can sum up an idea in a word rather than having to go around the houses and write it as a paragraph. Ways in which you can support them: test. It can be verbal. You can ask them to tell you about their keywords. You know, when you have a moment, if you're dropping them off to a club or having dinner, perhaps you could be quizzed on the keywords to see if you can come up with any examples that might help the students' understanding of it. And just repetition. So verbal or written or both will generally help with their recall and recollection of the keywords and their understanding of it. In terms of written resources that will be useful for your son or daughter, we have now put our Catholic Christianity textbook on the Caboodle list that the students already have access to using their science password. I think languages use it as well. So they should have access to that, and we've added it to the library. It's going to be really helpful when they are at home revising and they can go over some ideas. They can check the content, check their understanding of it. It's also really useful. It's got summaries of the sources and wisdom of and authority and the references that they are going to have to use for their 5-mark and 12-mark questions. These can be included on their working wall, which I will come back to in just a second. In terms of revision, there are a number of guides out there that will be very useful for the students. The one we recommend is the Catholic Christianity Yellow Revision Guide that you can see here, the first of the 3. And they are about £5.99. There are links on the PowerPoint, which I'm sure you'll have access to as well. Further to that are the foundation workbooks, which do provide a basic and simple and quite comprehensive, in fact, overview of the subjects that are covered. It might help with sort of recall and exercises and writing in the book, and, you know, just having an organised list of things, of check checklist of things that you have recapped. So again, they're available from Amazon and other sites, and I'll send you the link. I referred to earlier the big picture, the working wall. So we will give students a sample statement for the D question. So this is the question that's worth 12 marks in each section. So 50% of the paper is D questions. And we really want to build up on their skills and confidence in these. And the book, the textbook, the Caboodle textbook, can be used by the students when they go back to their big picture, their working wall. They can add sources of wisdom and authority to these and their understandings of them, so that they become part of the language with which they use to answer the D questions. They can do this independently. They will be doing it in class and supported and encouraged to add to that working wall. And that question will be put to them 3 or 4 weeks into the course. We'll mark it, we'll give them feedback on that, and then they will have a chance to address that same question again in their end of unit test, hopefully making some improvements that we've given them. Ask them about it, ask them what their statement is for this term. Your opinion matters, so share what you think when they give you that controversial statement, how you would respond, and really engage them with the material and have open conversations, and they will find it interesting, and hopefully you will too. Finally, from me, just revision ideas, and I'm sure you've got lots of input about this over the evening. Again, revisit those keywords, test, 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 write them down, act them out, get examples for each of those to help with their understanding of them. Diagrams, charts, organising theories are really important in terms of having for and against arguments, the hows and the whys to different things as well. And we also encourage the students to find what works for them. So some people can just verbally recite things, and that helps with their memory. Other students will need to write things down. I myself do like a column to chart with headings, but that doesn't work for everybody. So they really have got to find what works for them. Sometimes using a double page and just pinging ideas onto that and adding to it and colour coding it will be useful revision for lots of students too. Final thing that we are going to ask students to do is to rank ideas. So if they're speaking to you about a statement, or if they're getting some for and against in the actual textbook, to think about how strong or how convincing different ideas are. So if something is a really convincing idea for the design argument, they will keep that at the top of their ranking ideas. So if they do have to answer a question about the design argument, they've got a really strong lead there. If there's any questions from you, you can direct them to me. If there's any questions that students have, they could go via their RE teachers. If they can't be answered, then they can come to me. Hopefully this PowerPoint will be shared with you. There are some links on here for access to those books. They are on Amazon, but obviously other sites are available. Thanks for your time, and enjoy the rest of your evening.